Is there anywhere on earth perfect freedom, sorrows there, selfless friendship, blameless birth, cherish these, naught else has worth. Is there anywhere on earth perfect freedom, sorrows there, selfless friendship, blameless birth, cherish these, naught else has worth. Is there anywhere on earth perfect freedom, sorrows there, selfless friendship, blameless birth, cherish these, naught else has worth.
So we'll start with the Whispers from Eternity. This is a book of prayers, poem prayers by Paramahansa Yogananda. And because it's pertinent always, we'll start with Flood me with thy omnipresent love. O fountain of love, flood the lowlands of our love for home and family with thy omnipresent love. O mighty source of all of our rivers of desire, teach us not to cut ourselves off from thee, hunting on dry sands of sense satisfaction. Love is our soul's birthright. We demand now that all the rivers of our cravings be redirected through valleys of humility, eager self-sacrifice, and concern for others, until, reinforced by thy torrential blessings, they merge in the ocean of all fulfillment in thee. Bless us that the rivulets of our sympathy, affection, and love lose not themselves in the sands of dreary selfishness. Let the little lonely, separately moving streamlets of our love, which come from thee, merge at last in the vastness of thy perfect love. Om, peace, amen. So our topic today is how democratic is truth. And truth, that's definitely a word that is always up for interpretation and play as we live in the age of the internet. And artificial intelligence is getting so amazing that we can put voices over people's faces, and we can create whole videos and movies of things that aren't actually real. And so being a yogi is a plus in this day and age, because we need to be able to live in the spine to discern what's real, what's not real, and what's true. So Google is not very helpful in this definition of truth. It says being in accordance with fact or reality. But that begs the question, whose reality? Whose reality is truth? So we see this a lot. It's helpful to explore what truth isn't, so that we can come to understand what truth is. And if we look in the context of religion, many people claim truth over other religions. My religion is true, et cetera, et cetera. But, there's even the pitfall in this path as yogis to be dogmatic in our own teachings. Swami was sharing in a video once about Master Yogananda's correcting him when counseling people. And Swami advises us even to never use this phrase, Master says, in an attempt to share our advice of what we think is right for somebody else. Because he said, just because they're Master's words doesn't mean that it's true for someone. Where we are, everyone is on their own unique journey to truth, to realizing the ultimate truth. And we all get there on our own time. And quoting a master doesn't necessarily help someone in their journey if they're not ready to hear it, or if they simply don't have the capacity yet to understand it on a deeper level. And so we get to Swami's definition of truth, or what he shared about truth is really that truth is something that's beneficial to all. It's not actually based in facts. So sorry, Google, you are wrong. It's what's beneficial, and always, at the end of the day, what can be shared in kindness and in love. Hence our whispers today. And so when we look at truth in society, truth is generally not popular opinion. There's what's true for a group of people, or what's popular, what's trending, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it applies to us. And within our relationships, it's also interesting to explore this word truth. Is truth, do I come to truth simply when someone agrees with me? Is that how I know that something is true? Am I getting to truth by having the validation of others? How do we, even in relationship, know what's true? And it's just a good idea to look at how to introspect on how many times we assume on the truth. If, for example, you can think of how many times just in the last few hours since you've woken up, how many thoughts that you played out or carried out because you're not constantly, we are not constantly asking ourselves, is this true? Is this not true? Most of us, not because we're trying to live in darkness, no one's constantly asking, is this true? Is this not true? And we're presuming that most of the thoughts in our head are pretty reasonable and they're right. And so the question in this topic is, how democratic is truth? The truth is always 100% available to every one of us, and we all have the capacity to perceive it, but we haven't yet gotten rid of our lenses. We always have something that's filtering our ability to perceive it. And again, coming to deeper truths happens for everyone on our own time. And Jyotish shares this story of when Swami himself and Devi went to the auto show with Bharvi in Los Angeles. And so Bharvi tells them, wear your blues, it's okay, don't try to fit in. And so they go to the auto show, wearing their full blue robes. And this lady walks up to them and says, Jyotish does the accent way better. He's, what's with all the blue? And Devi, trying to share, says, oh, we're of the Nayaswami order. We belong to Ananda. She starts to share a little bit of her truth. And so the lady asks, is that like being a guru? And she says, well, no, we just dedicate our lives to God. And again, she starts trying to share a little more. And at the end of it, the lady just stares Devi deep in the face and says, would you like a cupcake? And the point is, because part of this reading is, not sharing our truths necessarily with people who aren't ready to hear them or to listen. But I think beyond that, we all live in a different reality. And Swami says maturity is understanding that, understanding that we don't all share the same truth. We all live in our own filter. We are all a unique filter of the divine. And we always hear Masters quote about the ocean and the little cup. The ocean being God, us being the little cup. And he says, the ocean may be willing to pour itself in the cup, but the cup can only hold according to its own capacity. And there's a beautiful story in the autobiography of a yogi that I want to read, otherwise it won't do it justice. So Master is asking his guru, Sri Yukteswar, if he's ever met Babaji. And he says, yes. And he tells him, about the 3 times. He said, one, the Kumbh Mela. At the Kumbh Mela, he says, Babaji tells Sri Yukteswar, I will return to see you again once you've finished your book. And so here is that meeting. Greetings, Swamiji. The beautiful voice of the Master rang out to assure me I was not dreaming. I see you have successfully completed your book. As I promised, I am here to thank you. With a fast-beating heart, I prostrated myself fully at his feet. Param Guruji, I said imploringly, will you and your chelas not honor my nearby home with your presence? The Supreme Guru smilingly declined. No, child, he said. We are people who like the shelter of trees. This spot is quite comfortable. Please tarry a while, Master. I gazed entreatingly at him. I shall be back at once with some special sweetmeats. When I returned in a few minutes with a dish of delicacies, lo, the lordly banyan no longer sheltered the celestial troop. I searched all around the ghat, but in my heart I knew the little band had already fled on etheric wings. I was deeply hurt. Even if we met again, I would not care to talk to him, I assured myself. He was unkind to leave me so suddenly. This was a wrath of love, and of course, and nothing more. A few months later, I visited Lahiri Mahashaya in Benares. As I entered his parlor, my guru smiled in greeting. Welcome, Yukteswar, he said. Did you just meet Babaji at the threshold of my room? Why, no, I answered in surprise. Come here, Lahiri Mahashaya touched me gently on the forehead. At once I beheld near the door the form of Babaji, blooming like a perfect lotus. I remembered my old hurt and did not bow. Lahiri Mahashaya looked at me in astonishment. The divine guru gazed at me with fathomless eyes. You are annoyed with me? Sir, why shouldn't I be? I answered. Out of the air you came with your magic group, and into the air you vanished. I told you I would see you, but didn't say how long I would remain, Babaji laughed softly. You were full of excitement. I assure you that I was fairly extinguished in the ether by the gust of your restlessness. I was instantly satisfied by this unflattering explanation. I knelt at his feet. The Supreme Guru patted me kindly on the shoulder. Child, you must meditate more, he said. Your gaze is not yet faultless. You could not see me hiding behind the sunlight. With these words, in the voice of a celestial flute, Babaji disappeared into the hidden radiance. So this is a beautiful story because it's, as we know him, Sri Yukteswar, the very wise, and even he cannot see Babaji standing there, which you would think to these great masters would be obvious. And their masters trying to illustrate this idea that our ability to see, he says, you don't have perfect vision yet. I think that's a premise that we can all work from. We don't have perfect vision yet. And the beautiful part of the story is why he couldn't see Yukteswar. Because he had his love, he said, is the wrath of love. That upward flowing heart went down in disappointment, and it obscured his ability to see his guru. So I was thinking about this recently. We went to Kauai and we visited a temple, a Shiva temple. And I didn't know what to expect. I kind of just always go open, like on our pilgrimage to India. I'm just sort of open to whatever good vibrations are there. But I was so surprised at how powerful it was. We both had such deep experiences. And one of my first thoughts after I left that temple was, I wonder if 5 years ago I would have been able to feel or perceive anything in that temple. And so this process of being able to see, it's not about, yes, our bodies develop and our brains develop and we get smarter, but spiritual perception, the ability to see truth, is all about what's happening in the heart. And that's the beauty of this story. And so how democratic is truth? It's 100% fair. I love that line that Babaji says. He uses the word fairness. He says, in fairness, I vanished because of your restlessness. That law of karma, the spiritual laws, they work the same for everyone. So it's not that someone else has an advantage over anybody else. It's whether we are willing and ready to see the truth. And that's the spiritual path. So Yogananda in one of the preceptas said not to focus so much on the question of what is true. We'll get there. He said rather to focus on the process of truth. How do we get to truth? And as the basis of anything else, humility is, again, knowing that we don't have perfect sight, that we all live in a different reality. But, the ability to ask ourselves, am I willing to be wrong? Even throwing out the notion of wrong and just, am I willing to learn something new? Am I willing to expose my beliefs, especially to those who may not be so inclined to readily agree with my ideas or my truths? Humility is really the soil of the perception for us to grow. And it's our foundation for destroying false notions. And this is in the Raja book, but this practice of truthfulness, we think of truth as this thing, but again, instead of focusing on the word truth and trying to get to that, focus on the practice of truthfulness. And in the attitude of truthfulness, we start to destroy, those delusions that keep us from deeper perception. And so I wanted to end with, finally, maybe something a little more concrete that we can take and something we can meditate on about what is truth. This is a poem by Swamiji that I don't know if he wrote it in Christmas of '90 or shared it then, but here it is. Truth is all-embracing. Truth knows no barriers, and it is therefore always kind. Truth fosters harmony, never disharmony. Unity, never disunity. Universal respect, never judgment or intolerance. Truth is ever beneficial. Its rays heal, though they cauterize our imperfections. Be weary of statements made in the name of truth if they lack charity. View skeptically such statements if they are self-serving. Should anyone moreover claim unique possession of a truth, turn apart and gaze up into the vast heavens. For truth is expansive. Its native land is infinity. Truth inspires joy in our souls, even if we, in our little human littleness, fear its liberating rays. Om. Peace.